Hello and welcome to Stacey Guitar. If you're new here and you like guitars, do consider subscribing. Today we're going to take a look at a £500 fantasy rig. I was just thinking the other day, what if I lost all of my gear and I just had 500 quid to pop out and get a guitar, an amp and some effects that I could use for teaching or gigging or perhaps some recording. And this is what I came up with, the guitar. So with a £500 budget, I was thinking I'd spend £200 on guitar, £200 on the amp, and have £100 left over for pedals. And if I went under budget in any category, then I could spend a little bit more on a remaining category. In terms of guitars for around or under £200, there's actually one I've had my eye on for a while that I've quite fancied. It's the Harley Benton TE90. And I just think for, I think it's £170, I think it looks really cool. And at the same time, for 170 quid, if I didn't like it, and I had really lost everything, at least when the insurance money comes through, it's a pretty guitar. It will look nice on the wall, which isn't obviously great. Or, you know, if I was sticking to one of my previous videos, which is how many guitars do you need, if I was sticking to that logic, I'd say I could then sell that guitar and pass it on at a cheaper price to a student or a friend. But it's a good looking guitar, and it's not got any especially premium features. It's very basic, but it looks really nice, and I just fancy it. That's probably what I'd pick. So the amp. So because we came under budget with the guitar, I was thinking that you could spend a little bit more on the amp, but really I'd rather save a bit more for pedals, because £100 isn't a lot for pedals, but I just thought the amp would be a priority, amp and guitar would be a priority. So potentially my thought was I could now get an amp for up to £230, but hopefully less. And I already knew what kind of thing I'd be after. And at the moment, it's actually a really good time to be buying amps, if that's what you're after, if you need one, because things like guitar plugins and effects pedals that are also amp simulators, and also just bookshelf amps. Amps are getting smaller and smaller to the point where they disappear and they're virtual. And so people are selling off their big amps because they just don't need them anymore. So what I was aiming to find is a Marshall AVT50, which is a 50 watt 112 combo with a clean channel and a overdrive channel and reverb and sometimes effects. And that's what I was after. I thought maybe get that. But then to my delight, I found something called a Marshall Valve State, I think it's VS100R. And it's a 100 watt 112 combo. And it's got a clean channel, an overdrive channel. And the overdrive channel has two overdrive selections, overdrive 1 and overdrive 2. And it's got reverb. And it was £95. £95 for a 112 Marshall combo. And it's got, again, like the AVT, the Valve States have valve preamp and then solid state power amp. But that's perfectly, you can gig with that, a 100 watt 112 inch combo. That's ideal. And they sound great. They're massively underrated, those, and there's loads of them available. So if you're looking to buy an amp you can gig with, record with, play at home, and then because it's a solid state, you can have it quiet, it still sounds good. Whereas valve amps, when you play them quietly, they don't sound as good as when you play them loudly. So it's kind of the best of both worlds. And I was amazed, I found a VS100R for £95. The pedals. So having spent £170 on the guitar and only £95 on the amp, that leaves us with £235 to spend on effects, which is more than double what I was expecting. So I'm really surprised how far you can go with £500. You are reliant on going secondhand a bit, but that's still, I'm impressed. Now, for £235, you probably could buy a pedal board, a power supply, and some effects, but each effect would be quite a cheap one and perhaps something you want to replace in the future. So on this occasion and for this budget, I think I'd go for a multi-effects. And there are quite a lot of secondhand multi-effects about at the moment, especially because some more traditional multi-effects are kind of out of date now compared to modern technology. So it was a toss-up for me between the TC Electronic Nova system and the Boss ME80. And I really struggled on which to get between them, because whilst the Boss ME80, did I say 50 earlier? I mean ME80. The Boss ME80 has an expression pedal, but I suspect, I don't know this, but I suspect some of the effects are a bit better on the TC Electronic Nova system. And also, I just think it looks cool and I kind of really want one. But I decided in the end to go with the Boss ME80 because it seems easier to use. And it's more like having a multi-effects pedal because you can dial in each pedal more easily. It's not on a screen or anything. And it's got the expression pedal, and who doesn't love wah? But quick breakdown of the ME80. I mentioned in my previous video, which was first pedal board tips, that the ME80 is a bit, I don't know, it can be a bit intimidating as a first pedal board, so I suggested people would get something like the ME50. But for somebody like me who would have lost my full-on pedal board, it's kind of ideal because actually it does everything my pedal board does. It's got a preamp section, it's got an overdrive, it's got a modulation, it's got reverb, it's got delay, and then it's got two further effects that you can change and an expression pedal. So it really does an awful lot in this one box. And I went onto eBay and I managed to find one with the original box with a power supply for £170 plus postage, which is well under budget. And the good thing about that is that does leave perhaps enough budget, because it'd be about 60 quid or £51, something like that. And that'd be enough to buy a case for the guitar, because the guitar doesn't come with a case, like a gig bag, or maybe even a gig bag for the pedal board, whichever you want to, well, I guess the guitar, you'd have to get a case for the guitar, because you could always keep the pedal in the box. So that's it. That would be my complete £500 rig. That's what I'd probably go out and buy if I had £500 and I had to create a rig that would work live, work for teaching, and you could do something with recording wise. What do you think? What would you have bought in that situation? And what do you think of this fantasy rig video? Would you like to see more videos like this? Because I was thinking it might be quite fun to do £500 fantasy rig metal, or £500 fantasy rig blues, or, you know, and then sometimes different prices. If you like this video and like to see more, don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks so much for watching. I've been JT, take care, and I'll see you next time. Bye.